But did you see this headline in today's New York Times? Alan Cowell, just the headline. Britain says it sent warplanes to intercept Russian bombers off Cornwall. What the hell is going on? The British Air Force scrambled warplanes to intercept 2 Russian bombers off the coast of Cornwall in southwest England, the Defense Ministry said on Thursday, as a government minister sounded alarms about the Kremlin's intentions elsewhere in Europe. When the Soviet Union fell, George Herbert Walker Bush and Mikhail Gorbachev worked out a deal for basically the West helping unravel the Soviet Union, but also providing some security assurances. And one of those security assurances that was explicitly made was that the West, the United States, NATO, and the European Union would not lay claim to or try to set up any kind of military bases in Ukraine, because Ukraine is right on the Russian border. It is the middle ground. In fact, I believe the word Ukraine means the place in the middle. It's like in between Europe and Russia. And we are rubbing that sore so hard. And then you get that on top of, here's Don Rumsfeld. The Islamic State's rise is like the period before World War II. He's actually, in a certain way, this same thought's been going through my mind for some time now, is that sometimes you push all the way to the most outrageous in order to make a point. And then if you back up even a little bit, you seem quite reasonable. I see this all the time when I'm debating right-wingers, and they'll just come out and say, we should just, shut down every post office in the United States. Right? It's like Neil McCabe said yesterday on the program. Just privatize them all. Get the government out of the business. We should just turn Social Security over to Wall Street. I mean, this is what they really believe. And sometimes they come right out and say it. Now, Hitler pushed it all the way to the far wall. Kill the gypsies, kill the communists, kill the Jews, kill the gays, etc. And ISIS is now doing this, using violence and murder as their extremist tactic to get our attention. And in my book, The Crash of 2016, just out in paperback, I talk at some length about how when we forget, when we die off, let me rephrase that. When the generation, as Arnold Toynbee is said to have said, when the generation that remembers the horrors of the last Great War dies, the next Great War becomes inevitable. Because only the glory is remembered. I was there for the Battle of the Bulge. No, I was there for the storming of Normandy. I was there when we liberated Dachau. Actually, you'd have to be a Russian to say that, but Auschwitz. But this is serious stuff. And I'm very concerned that we are playing with fire here. We are playing with World War III. There's a fellow who lives in Tunisia, and I've shared several of his emails with you in the past. I'm not going to name him for his own protection. But he just sent me a note that is rather startling. Just imagine that this was you. Can you imagine living in Tunisia? Or just living where you live and discovering that an enemy, really seriously, they want to kill you enemy is just a few miles down the road and they're coming your way. He writes, Dear Tom, I have a concern I would like to share with you. As you know, I'm from Asia, and I am also nominally a Muslim. I tell you this because I'd like you and all good people to know that between the Republican Party and ISIS moderate Muslims, those of us who just want to live our lives are facing a potential Holocaust. First, ISIS wants us either to subscribe to their false homicidal interpretation of Islam, and now the party is stoking the fires of hatred in the United States. You know that you say you don't like to use fascist to describe Republicans, but if you look closely at the Holocaust, you will see that the Nazis began by persecuting the Jewish community with words and small acts of violence. I hope people of goodwill will unite and bring an end to all this division and allow us to tackle the real enemies, poverty, hunger, and disease. As I write this, ISIS is poised to enter Tunisia. Please know how much I appreciate listening to your show. I hope that you and folks like you ultimately become the voices of sanity that pulls us back from the brink. Sincerely yours. Can you imagine? And we have the Republican Party, Fox so-called news, right-wing hate radio, and all these right-wing blogs trying to do the PR work for ISIS, asserting that they actually do represent Islam. These guys are willing to have people die to promote their political agenda of hating Obama.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-536-2370.
The Obama administration is doing nothing less or more than the Bush administration did in not recognizing Islam as the source of the problem. But don't tell that to Republicans.